cocaine, and those types. Um, when I was young, there was this guy named Don who was studying to be a Jehovah's Witness, and he did a lot of acid through his younger years, and he warned me against it because he said that you could actually get flashbacks, or these portions of acid that are still in your body, and you can actually trip out at any moment, anytime. You could be going to a Kingdom Hall meeting and all of a sudden have a small little trip because the acid somehow just does not cannot escape your system fully. That's not exactly how I explained it, but that's how I just remember it. And of course, going to school, don't do drugs, was always taught to us. Later on, when I was 18, 19 years old, we were allowed to drink alcohol, and I loved to drink beer. And I was hanging out with two of my best friends. One was living with me, and another was visiting from a different province in Canada. And we were hanging out, and they decided that they wanted to buy a joint, which is a marijuana cigarette. And so they went and secretly bought one and introduced it later on into the night, brought it out, and I just fell into it and smoked it with them. So that was my first experience with drugs. That was with two other Jehovah's Witnesses. So, not too long after that, after more drinking, we all got disfellowshipped, and that's when I decided to experiment with more drugs. Um, I partied a lot. I hanged out with girls, and marijuana was always around. Uh, Lots of joints. They were always being passed around. You could buy joints from anybody in the area. Just go to the right location in a park, or just go to the right people, and they would be selling. They would already have joints rolled up and in their little tin container, and they would sell them for about $5 each. I've also tried magic mushrooms in the physical form and also in tea. I've picked magic mushrooms also, and they simply just grow on cow manure. You just go to the cow fields, you just go find a farm, and especially when it's moist out after a rainy day, just go find a pile of manure and pick for magic mushrooms. Now I'm going to talk about the effects of marijuana and these mushrooms on how they affected me. Um, First of all, I'll explain that I'm a serious person. I have a lot of humor, but I view myself as a responsible person and who tries to stay focused on making wise decisions in my life. So that's really who I am. I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, and I was brought up to have a mind, like a Jehovah's Witness, and so I tried to do everything the best I could according to the Bible. But here I am, disfellowshipped, and I'm in this world of bad association because I chose to be there, and around guys and girls who loved to party and they had a rebellious nature. So I'm this responsible kid who was still indoctrinated from the Watchtower teachings, but I wanted to rebel. I wanted to experiment. So the effects of marijuana to me, since I'm a serious person and also had a bit of anxiety issues, um, I would smoke these marijuana cigarettes, and they would just make me turn into like a stone. So many times I would just sit there quietly and think about all my thoughts and just really focus on my life and decisions. And then that would turn into sort of like anxiety and then a little bit of paranoia, which happens to a lot of people when you're smoking that. You start to worry, you start to go through all your fears, and even a noise like that will sort of like just jolt you out of that for a second, and it could make you more paranoid or just actually have a different effect on you. It could make you think like, wow, that was amazing, that sound, and turn you into this different avenue of thinking. It's strange what it does. For other people, it makes them super mellow and takes away their pain and anxiety. It just depends on actually what kind of mood you're in and what kind of personality you have. That's the best way I can explain it. So I never really liked marijuana. It usually had a bad effect on me. And I recall right now I was at a party, and it was somebody's birthday party. There was a lot of people there, and the whole night everybody just kept smoking marijuana. Lots and lots and lots of marijuana. And there was alcohol, of course, and that's when I had actually magic mushrooms later on made in the form of tea. And somebody started to fight, and I started to get kind of anxious and paranoid, and I had to get out of there really quickly. So I shouldn't have gotten into my car, but I did. After alcohol, marijuana, and mushrooms, I took off, and that night didn't end very well for me, but I'll get into that later. So that's the best way I can describe marijuana anyway, is that for me it just makes me turn into a stone and get anxious and paranoid. It is not helping you progress in life. Okay, now I'm going to talk about mushrooms. There are two nights that I want to talk about. The first time I tried it was actually turned into an amazing night, to be honest. I chewed on these and swallowed the mushrooms, and I was with a bunch of guys that I was friends with, well, so-called friends. And we ended up going to a beach, and I started to get these trails, they call them, when you move your hand in front of your face and then just sway it back and forth like you're a crazy hippie doing crazy dance. And you would see these trails follow behind, like patterns like spades or diamonds or hearts. And it doesn't matter what you do, it could be anything that your mind kind of just directs yourself to go. It could be colors, shapes, um, animals. So that was kind of an amazing night. The moon was out and the waves were coming in. There were rocks on the beach, and everybody was just kind of in a good mood and joking around, and it was a humorous night. And so like I was just kind of walking over these rocks, and it felt like I was in space, and the rocks were kind of floating, and I was just like a feather kind of just stepping over these rocks, and I felt like I was in space but on the moon. And I remember a guy behind me, his name is Rookie, he just kept laughing so much at what I was doing because I was just being a goof and looking goofy. That was the first night, and the second night was not very well at all. Um, the second night that I want to talk about, anyway. I was sitting at a coffee shop with my best friend that I lived with, and this best friend, we were actually best friends since the age of 2. There's a picture of us in the same crib, and he was raised sort of to be a Jehovah's Witness through his grandma when he came to visit in the summer, and then when he went back home to his mom, she was already left and disfellowshipped. But anyway, he ended up getting baptized, and so both of us were baptized, disfellowshipped. And we were at the coffee shop with a friend of mine, well, a girlfriend at the time, and we were all on mushrooms, and he felt really emotional, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. He was laughing hysterically, and then he started to get really emotional, and he had to just leave, like tearing up almost, it looked like. And so he said, "Oh, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go back home. I'm gonna walk." So he walked home, and I hanged out at the coffee shop and just wherever, did whatever. And I ended up going back home later. And when I walked into the door, he was curled up on a couch, like a little baby, like fetus, in the fetal position, and bawling his eyes out. And he's like this big, like muscly, tough guy that would never cry. He would never show his feelings like that. And I'm like, what's going on? What's wrong? And then he said, I looked in the mirror and I saw my dad's face, my dad's eyes. And I was my dad. And he totally lost control. And he was by himself going through this. And that's what you call a bad trip. And he was alone, and it was very frightening for him. And that night, it turned me into sort of like his mood that he was in, there was a transition for me. Everything was fine, but then after hearing that, it was awful for me. I went into my bed and I could hear him crying still, and I was seeing these dragons, and like they sort of made me think that they were like demons, and I was like praying so hard just to help my friend to get through this and to help me get through it and to forgive. Just like I was praying to Jehovah to forgive me for doing this, and I just need to get out of this, and it just would not stop, would not stop. And it was the most awful night of my life, probably. And so both of us had a bad trip from that. It was really scary. So when you're brought up a Jehovah's Witness, of course, you're always indoctrinated that the demons are trying to attack you, especially if you're going to be doing drugs, that's a way to invite them into your life and into your soul. Basically, you're just opening a door. And but at that time, definitely that was just a bad trip, and I tried mushrooms just only a few times. That was a good indication to me that I shall not be doing this anymore. Um, Another time, actually, I think I was on mushrooms. Yes, of course, I was on mushrooms. I had to leave my friend's house, and I got into the car and started driving. And I was just too wrecked to drive. I shouldn't have been driving, and I'm guilty of that. I was rebellious and stupid at that age, a long time ago. And so I just had to park my car over the side of the road. I needed fresh air. I rolled the window down and had the car on because it was cold and had the heat blasting. And I had to just lay my head out the window and just trying to breathe and sleep. But I was starting to get paranoid that there was like this witch or something that was just going to attack me at the window. So that was another night that was not good. It was just a bad trip again. So overall, what I'm getting at is drugs, they did not treat me well. And there's another drug I didn't talk about that I tried. Well, it's called hash. And I was with somebody in a car. We were at like just a small house party get together, and we were in the car smoking this hash, and we just kept smoking it and smoking and smoking it. And I actually wanted to stop, but um, they insisted, and so we just kept going. And it was an extreme high, so high that when I got into the house, I felt like I was like turning green, and my whole body was laying flat on my stomach, and my face was against the rug. And I remember that I felt so heavy, like I was under a house, and I just could not move a muscle. I couldn't get up, and I don't think I could even like barely talk. It just felt like it was just a rock again. And it was too much. I probably needed to go to the hospital. That's how bad it was. That's how bad it felt. But lucky enough, I survived this, and I, of course, like they say, was hungover the next day. I guess I was going through a lot of pain because of my upbringing as a Jehovah's Witness. It's not easy being brought up as a Jehovah's Witness, and especially when your dad is an elder, and a father who has Great Depression, and a mother who has anxiety, and you have a bunch of brothers and sisters. It's a big family, and you're trying to show this, I guess, it's like a front of spirituality, a facade that you're just a super spiritual family, but back at home, you're just a strange family. And you realize this when you're in your adult years, that no, we did not have a normal family. People looked at us like we were a spiritual family, so I thought. And I think my mom thought that too, that people looked up to us. But now I think that people looked at us and thought, oh, that family, yeah, they're going to be there. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it wasn't like that, but I see now that we were from a cult, and we were all affected. So I guess when I left, I was confused. I knew that according to my Jehovah's Witness mind, indoctrinated mind, I knew I was doing wrong, and I wanted to experiment. I loved to drink beer and liquor, and that became a problem. And then there's these other vices that came along, like smoking, and then marijuana and mushrooms. it all just depended on what was there at the party and what was introduced to me and what I decided to do. And I decided to do all those things. Beer was a huge problem for me later on in life too, and then smoking. I started and quit smoking a few times in my life, and I had to finally realize, I had to tell myself that I had to quit drinking altogether. And so I stopped drinking after a point in my later life when cocaine was around more fluently, and I almost got into it, almost. And that was the line that I almost crossed, and I had to just tell myself that's it, no more drinking, no more partying. And then after that, about a year, maybe a year and a half after that, maybe longer, I finally quit smoking. And in my mind, I believe that the power of prayer helped me get through that. And so now, or after that, if I had a craving for smoking, I would just breathe in and out like that. I would go outside if I was at work or something, just go outside, get some fresh air, breathe in real deep, and then breathe out a few times, and that helped me quit smoking. And I remember telling my mom that that's how I quit smoking. That's a different story. I went to their house for the last time and I told them this, that I quit smoking. This is how I did it, and it felt like the Holy Spirit going in me and then out, and I was just breathing the Spirit, and that's how I viewed it. I was praying and asking God for help to quit smoking, and this is how it worked. And that could be another video where I will talk about breathing and anxiety and how that really actually does help. Well, there you go. Try it right now. If you have anxiety, just take 3 deep breaths, and in and out real slowly, and you will feel a lot better. It doesn't matter where you're at. If you're at work or at home, just take a break, pause, and breathe, and see what it does. If something stressful is happening and you're starting to panic a little bit, it really, really does help. And it's important to remember to breathe properly during the day, because you could be working really hard and fast and you're not breathing properly and you're just getting stressed. It's important to remember just breathe in and out, longer breaths. That helps with stress and anxiety. Okay, well, anyway, back to drinking alcohol. That was an issue where I got disfellowshipped over mainly, and I got disfellowshipped twice in my life, and alcohol was the main issue. And then after that, cigarettes just kind of, they're just around. If you're hanging around people that are drinking, cigarettes are usually there, and that sort of gives you an extra buzz when you're drinking. But it's not worth it. It really isn't. It's just a way to destroy your health. It's a way to destroy your liver. And to be honest, I'll tell you right now that I was at the point of drinking so much, and every weekend it was just drinking. And this was serious drinking, like big bottles of vodka or Fireball, shots and shots after shots after shots at the bar that people would buy, just keep drinking. And there's always a pitcher of beer, like just drink it like water, and then the liquor just always just be there. And we would do that at the pub. Well, actually, we would buy a case of beer before the pub and drink a lot of those cans, and then go to the pub and then drink a lot, and then we would go to the creek and then we would really drink. That's how bad it was. And some nights it would be 2 packs of cigarettes. It was harsh, really harsh. And that's what kind of parties or gatherings that I would be at, and that's the kind of association I would be with. And a lot of those people I was with, they were actually ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that were still indoctrinated in a way that they thought that the truth or the watchtower was still the truth, and there was no other way to find the truth. Like what I'm saying is John 14:6, Jesus says that he is the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father but through him. So that's the biblical truth, but in our minds we thought the watchtower was the truth. So if the truth is wrong, everything else is wrong. And so they were atheist or agnostic, and they just didn't care anymore. But me, I was different. I still had a belief in Jehovah, but I knew there was something wrong with the Watchtower Society and the people that were involved with it. And to continue my story after this point where I almost took cocaine, I was at the point where I was just finding things about the Watchtower Society and history, and I started to research Freemasons as well, and the deeper things of the world, of the elite, of these secret societies, Satanism, Luciferianism, the United Nations, and all of these things combined. Aleister Crowley, Elena Blavatsky, and the Lucius Trust. All of this is basically combined together, and I found out about Charles Taze Russell and his pyramidal monument to the Watchtower, and that's actually what made me wake up. And all of this pulled me away from the party scene and drinking heavy and smoking, and brought me to researching actually what the problem was, what the root problem was in my life. It was this cult. And I was sucked into all this research and pulled away from the party scene. And I was starting to become more responsible as an adult now, because I don't need that garbage anymore. I was helping myself to wake up. And through the process, through my other old channel called Wally72, I was making videos all the time, things that I would research, and I would just post it and post it and post it. Sometimes 2-3 videos a day. I was just a fanatic because I just wanted to help people and myself. It was good therapy. And I found out the real biblical teaching of God, Jesus. I'm not going to preach right now and say that the Bible teaches that there is a Godhead, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, but that's what I believe, that is God, and it's taught in different scriptures. You can see in, from my opinion, that the Godhead is the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Anyway, now I'm at the point where I'm able to maybe have a beer once in a blue moon, and then I tell myself, okay, that's it, just one beer, and then I won't drink for many, many, many more months. I'm around people at work that smoke, and I just smell it now, and it's disgusting because it just reminds me of all the thick tar, nicotine. It's just disgusting. It's like drinking tar, and that's all you're doing to your body. You're making everything black inside your mouth, your lungs, and it's just a harsh thing to do to your body. So it's something I've been through, and will never need it again. Now I can breathe. I can breathe the air, and it's just clean, and it's natural, and I know that I'm going to be healthier as time goes on, as the longer I stay away from that crap. So as I get older, I still have this rule that hard drugs is not acceptable. And another huge reason why I left that club of friends that were ex-Jehovah's Witnesses is because I found out my best friend was doing cocaine secretly, which I kind of knew in my mind that he was maybe doing it because he was acting strange. He was getting it free from this guy named Derek, who was hanging out with another guy who deals with drugs. And we've hanged out with that guy, went to his house, huge, rich, everything there, had a wife, but hanged out with his girlfriend. It was just disgusting. About the parties and the events that would happen at these parties at this house. I had to tell myself, that's it. You know, I'm not going down this valley of life. This is really going downhill fast. And so I found out he was getting free drugs from Derek. He's trying to get him hooked to join his club. It's just a mental thing. Those kind of people that are addicted to cocaine or other drugs, they need like a pack. They need others to support them, so they feel like they're accepted in this world. They need them to be doing drugs with them. That's why they're giving their drugs away for free. And for dealers, they always give the first shot free, and then you're hooked most of the time. And that's how that works. Don't do drugs. It's stupid. It's really, really stupid. That's my opinion. But after I left that club and that whole scene, I've just stayed away from it. I have no interest in people that are drinking heavily or doing drugs. I can tolerate smoking, but the other things is just not needed in life for a responsible adult. I know that addictions are there. I know how addictions work, and it's hard for people to give it up. but there are ways to give it up. It's just up to you to want to quit when it's your turn, when it's your time. So this is where I'm at, and I don't really regret the experiences I've been through in my life, because I decided to go through it. I just wanted to experiment, to have these experiences. It's what I needed to do. I needed to learn the hard way. And here I am. I'm not a drinker. I don't smoke. And I don't touch any of those drugs. I don't even believe in taking painkillers or chemical drugs. I just try to deal with life naturally, and to deal with problems. When there's a problem, you talk about it, or you think about it. You just be logical. Don't get over emotional. You go through different steps of pros and cons. You try to come up with a solution, different solutions, and you just try to find the most logical way out to figure this out. And usually you can solve the problem. You don't need to have alcohol or drugs to get through it. You can be clean and you can deal with it as a grown adult, and everything will eventually be good. All of us have problems in this world. Every single one of us go through hell on this earth. And there's a lot of things that I could tell you that I've been going through, but it's none of your business. All of us go through those things. But we don't have to turn to drugs and alcohol to get through life. I guess I'll just finish up with this video by saying that you will deal better with life if you show others love and give other people your attention. If you just put forth a little bit of your energy to helping other people, to just giving them, just writing them a positive remark or comment, and just make them feel happy, make them smile. Or if you're married or have a girlfriend, or if you still have family, just do something for them, help them out, whether it's physical or emotional, whatever. Do something for someone else. That's what I'm saying. Instead of thinking about yourself, show love, be there for somebody, and the more you do that, instead of focusing on yourself, the happier you will be. It's amazing how love works. Provide for your wife. Work hard. Stay focused. Make wise decisions. And just cut out the crap from your life. Breathe in and out. And just don't be an idiot. Don't hang out with people that will bring you down. Don't hang out with people that have bad habits that will just drag you down again and make you go down this tunnel that just has a bad ending. Just be encouraging and loving to people, and you'll eventually break these vices that you just don't need in your life. They're not natural, in my opinion, anyway. So, I think I've gone through the drugs that I've tried. I don't think I'm missing anything. Marijuana, mushrooms, hash. And I do not regret making the decision to stay away from hard drugs. I'm very happy. There was a time when I was offered at a party to take ecstasy. I had it in my hand. I was like, okay, it's free. I had this blue pill with a little image on it in my hand, and I had a bunch to drink, a bunch of beers. And I just looked at it, thought about it, and I said, hey man, here, you just take it back. I don't want it. So he took it back, and that was the end. I didn't have to take it. Nobody thought I was weird or anything. It was my decision, and it could be like that with anything in life. You can just say, no, I don't want it. Just get it out of my sight. And nowadays, it's cool to be different. Just stand up for yourself and say, no, I don't want that. And you can just still be a cool person, but just stand up for your rights and for your right of opinion, your decision. No one's going to think strangely of you. But anyway, I didn't want to make this video this long, but I hope it helps somebody. And if you have anxiety, remember just to breathe, In and out.